The day I got fired from the pharmacy, just from me taking pills, is the first day I did heroin.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Just for Today podcast, where we dive deep into uncomfortable topics with zero filters. Today I have Amanda here with me.
Hi.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hang out with me.
No, thank you for having me.
Of course. I started following Amanda on Instagram. I don't even remember when, but I reached out to her literally, 2 days ago? One day ago?
Yeah, like 2 days ago.
Hey, I'm in California. Do you want to be on the podcast? And here she is.
Here we are. I know it happened so quick, but you were about it.
Yeah.
Like your business, you're like, yep, this is going to happen. Let's just do it.
I am so bad. I'm like so type B and like to the extreme. And I joke about it all the time, but I don't think people understand like how bad it actually is.
Yeah, but you made it happen.
Yes,
so
yes.
that's all that
help.
matters.
With your help. All right. So Amanda is going to be talking to us today a little bit about her past with drugs and addiction. So I'm going to give you the floor, and why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to us?
Okay, I'm Amanda. I'm an alcoholic. So I have a sobriety date of September 10th, 2014. So literally, I'll have 11 years.
Oh my God.
In like 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
Yes. And I came out to California almost 11 years ago for treatment, but I am originally from New Jersey. So I grew up there. I lived there for 25 years. A little bit about like how I even got here and like my childhood, because I feel like it's important to talk about like that. No, nothing like bad happened to me when I was a child, like nothing traumatic. I come from a good family. My parents have been married for 36 years now.
Wow.
Still together.
Yeah.
I played sports growing up. My dad coached all the teams. My dad worked. We had like most of like what we needed,
Yeah.
growing up. We didn't come from money, but we were okay, right?
Yeah. Now, is it just you in the home?
No, so I have two sisters, and I'm the middle child.
Okay.
And so we're all like 2 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah. So we all played a lot of sports, and my mom would like have dinner on the table every night for us. Like things were good.
Good. Like a good home life.
Yeah, good home life.
Yeah.
So eventually my little sister and my older sister started to get loaded. And I kind of was like disgusted by them.
Right.
Just an example, like I remember my little sister being 12 years old smoking a cigarette, and I was like, ew, you're disgusting. Like that, just to show you like the mindset that I had of like that, like any kind of substance, like ew, My sisters started to both struggle with drugs.
And they didn't see that at home, right? So was that like school, friends?
Yeah, I guess pretty much we like grew up in like the pill like epidemic, like it was just the pills. This is like when everybody was still doing like the Oxycontin,
right?
That's when it was just like the pills back then. So my sister started doing pills. I watched like my parents like kind of struggle with them with it, right? So in high school, I would drink a little, I mean, looking back now, it wasn't just like a little bit. It was, I'm like, whoa, I could hang, I could drink a lot. But pretty much what happened in high school, I graduated, I was popular, I played like, sports, got good grades, graduated, and then I met him, the love of my life, and I started to party a lot more. And I had this, like, I started going to community college. I just got a new car, and I worked in a pharmacy. So it was just super convenient. I started partying more with this guy. I started to try pills. And then I don't have that moment of, like, a lot of people talk about, like, when they were drinking, they had this moment of, like, oh, like, I loved it so much. But for me, it was, like, the pills. Yeah. And at this point, both of my sisters have already, like, they're getting high. Like, my little sister can't even, like, walk with her class to graduate. And my older sister is like shooting heroin. But like, here I am, I'm just doing pills, you know, like better than.
Yeah, you're better.
Yes, because I'm not doing all of like that. And plus nobody knows.
Right.
And life was still manageable because I had the car, the boyfriend, the going to college. So life was still like manageable.
Right.
And nobody knew.
Yeah.
And my parents' eyes were on my sisters.
Yeah.
So I was just like, just skating by like life, you know, and nobody knew. And then one day I just remember like not having anything. I was still working in the pharmacy, but I was
are you taking from the pharmacy?
So I started to take from the pharmacy. I started to like fill scripts for friends and take whatever like I wanted to. And I was selling them and making money and like, all of that.
Yeah.
And
how long are you doing this for?
So I started when I was 18. I mean, it lasted, I was stealing pills until I was 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
And no one like at work ever questioned where is it going?
No, because we're like, us alcoholic addicts are very trustworthy. Very like, you know what I mean? We know like, and I did all the inventory for the pharmacy, so I could really just do whatever I wanted, you know? And I did it in a way where they had no idea. You know, so very sneaky. Like I would pour out extra in the pill counter. I would take the tissue, like I would put them in the bottle for the customer or whatever. And then I would take a tissue, like I was going to clean the pill counter, and I would take a tissue, scoop up the extra. And then I would take the tissue, put it in the trash. And then at the end of the night, I would take the trash out to the back. And then before I threw it in like the dumpster, I would take that tissue out with the pills. Do you know what I'm saying? Like just
you find ways.
Crazy, you know? But no, like I'm not an addict, or I'm not a drug addict like you know? And I just continued to do that until eventually I got caught. I mean, I didn't get arrested. I just walked into the pharmacy one day and the managers were there and they were like, "Hey, we know."
Yeah.
And how they knew is because one of my friends got arrested at the pharmacy because she stole a script. I wasn't there. And like her friend called, was angry, said that like I was stealing pills from there and to watch me. So that's when they kept like a better eye on me, but they still couldn't like really prove it. You know? That's when like I got fired. And like the reason that's so important is because the day I got fired from the pharmacy, just from me taking pills, is the first day I did heroin.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So was that out of like anger or like sadness? Or
it was
just
when I got caught, the feeling was like, it wasn't like, oh my God, I have a problem. Like, I'm so sorry. The feeling was, how am I going to get high today? That's it. Like that's where that went, you know?
That's gone.
So that is gone, you know? And I knew that I was physically addicted because I just remember like kind of like having the sweats and like being like irritable and like things like that. Not fully understanding withdrawal or anything yet, but I knew that I definitely needed it. So that's why when I got caught, I was like, dang, how am I going to get high? And then that's the first day that I decided to do heroin.
Find another way. Because like you said a little bit earlier, you know, like, ew, I'm not a drug addict. And your sisters are, right? So how's your relationship with them? Like while they're doing all this, well, I guess, how was it growing up? Were you guys close?
So when we were little, yes. But then since I had this like better than mentality, like they were super close and I didn't have I wasn't as tight with like, you know, I resented both of them. I didn't want to be like either one of them. So they had this close relationship and then like I didn't, you know? And then basically after I got fired from the pharmacy, 2 weeks later, I decided that I needed to go to treatment, but only because I didn't know legally what was going to happen. So here I am again, like just like thinking like, oh no, like I'm not doing it because I think I have a problem. I just think like legal stuff is going to come from me getting fired from the pharmacy. I lost like my license, my pharmacy tech license, all these things. So let me go and get some help.
Right.
And like, I remember telling my sisters, and they were kind of just like, they knew that I would do pills sometimes, but they didn't know the extent of like what it was. You know, they didn't know I was stealing from the pharmacy, like either. Like when I like told them, they were just kind of like, I feel like it was kind of just like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, and they were kind of just like, we could have been getting high together. Or like, you've been holding out on us. Like, you've had these, like, that's what it was, you know?
Yeah.
What ended up happening eventually was, like, since I didn't have this tight relationship with them, it's like, okay, let's get, like, high together.
Right.
You know? And that's where, like, you kind of, like, have this, like, just this toxic bond of like, to the eventually where it led to was like, if like my sister would like find a vein for me to like hit, that's like where it led to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my sister would go and like do things, we would all do things that like disgusting things to like come up with money to help support each other's like habits, you know, like that's where that relationship was like. It ended up. And I ended up going to treatment for the first time when I was 22.
Was this after you got?
Yeah, after. And it was just because like, hey, I just want to. And when I went into treatment, I basically like compared myself to everybody because I was doing pills, right? Okay. I mean, even though, mind you, I was taking anything and everything. Yeah. And then I was just shooting heroin for 2 weeks. Yeah. And that's it. And I went into treatment. I heard all these people, like, they were selling their ass. They were, you know, there was women in there hiding alcohol, like vodka, in a laundry detergent, like, bottle from their husbands. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
You're like,
I was like,
I'm not at that point.
Yeah, I'm like, what? No. Yeah. Like, there's people, like, just driving their kids, like, around drunk. And then there's just, like, the girls, like, it's just, like, you know, the girls in there with, like, missing teeth and just, like, I was like, or they were homeless. Yeah. Like, none of those things were me. So I just basically just stayed there for 14 days for a quick, like, detox, you know? And then I called my parents and I was like, hey, like, I'm good. Can you come and get me? And mind you, when I told them that I needed to get help, like, they were shocked. Yeah. Because the focus,
too busy.
Yes, the focus was on my sisters who at this point have already been to treatment. Right. You know, so they were shocked to hear it from me. So I don't know. I think that they were just hoping like it was just whatever. Like, you know, like that maybe she's not like my sisters, you know?
So how was that first detox for you? Was it medicated? Unmedicated? How was that?
Yeah, so
this is the first time, right?
First time. Yeah. And it was awful. Yeah. It was awful. I mean, they gave me Suboxone in there, I think, for like a couple days. And then they gave you like some sleeping meds and stuff. I feel like that was like my first time truly like not having anything because I've always had something. Like I've been getting high for the last, 3 years straight, always had something, never sick. So that was like my first experience of like, wow, this sucks, and like, but still only thinking like physically separate from the drugs and the drink, like, and then I would be fine. Yeah. I just thought that I just needed that. And then, compared myself to everybody, didn't listen to anything anyone said in there. I met some girls in there that I eventually got high with. Yeah. When we got out. Like when I called my parents after 14 days, right away when I left that day, I got high. Yeah. But I had this thing in my head, like, I'm not going to get high, like, 3 days in a row. I'm not going to do pills 3 days in a row. Right. Because then I become, like, addicted to it. Like,
so then you're not an addict. Yeah. You're not doing it.
Yeah, I was just trying to, like, and I was, like, I definitely thought I could drink still, like, no matter what, And then I got out of there, and I just decided that New Jersey was the problem. Mm-hmm. So I was like, let me get out of New Jersey. And at that point, my older sister was in Florida. Okay. And she went to treatment out there and she was living in a halfway house. And I said, let me go to Florida and live with my sister and we can be like sober together. Yeah. Yeah. And so I went to Florida. And I don't again, we don't come from money. So my dad helped me and my sister get an apartment out there. He got us each like a bed a TV, and like a couch. And then within 2 months of living there, I started to get high with my sister.
So was she clean when you moved out there?
Yeah,
She was. Okay.
Yeah, she was. And then, but she wasn't like, I don't think she wasn't like working like a program. Like, she was just, again, we were just separated from the drug for a little bit. We weren't like working on anything or like working on ourselves at all. Like, she was, I just remember going out there, like, we would hang out with these, like, it was just about the guys, hang out with these guys out there, these sober guys, and just like do all these things, but not like working on ourselves at all. So we started to get high together, and like within 2 months, we like sold everything in the apartment. Like, couldn't pay rent. We were sleeping on an air mattress together that had a hole in it. So we would wake up and we would both be like on the floor. You know? And again, I lasted 2 months out there, and then I had this another like thing, like, oh my God, this moment of clarity, like, my sister's the problem. I need to get away from her. It was always something else. You know, like, New Jersey's the problem. Let me get out of here. Okay, now my sister's the issue. I got to get out of Florida, away from my sister. And I went back to New Jersey. And at this point, now my little sister is home. She went to El Paso, got married to somebody in the Army, and was getting high out there. Yeah, like crazy.
Your younger sister.
My little sister. So now she's home, and I never got high with her before, but now, like, there I am. As soon as I get home, I drove like my car back. It's like, I don't know, it was like 18 hours or something. And I get home and she's like nodded out in like her room in her bed.
So what happened with the husband and all that? Did it just not work out and she came back?
She came back. Yeah.
Okay. And she's not clean. She's using, obviously.
Yeah. But again, like, my parents in this like la la land, like, you know, and I think, you know, now being a parent, like, it's really hard to like accept, like, you know, and it's just a really hard thing to like deal with, and let alone like multiple of your kids, you know? And they're just trying to survive. They're working, trying to like pay bills, like, she's like nodded out, and I'm like, just got home. I'm like, I feel like shit. So I take her purse, and I find freaking dope in it. And I was like, oh my God. So
you didn't know at this point?
No. Yeah, like, and so I just stole half of her bag and then put it back in her purse. And like, I got high, and like, she woke up and like, I felt a little better. But then I was like, I didn't tell her I stole her.
I
didn't tell her that part, but I was like, I am getting high. So like, then we started to get high together. You know? It was just like, whoa, this is like my life. And by this point, I'm 23. And living with my parents and getting high with my little sister.
So I know that you went on the Dr. Phil show. Was that because of your parents, or how did that happen? Like, were they the ones that were like, we need help, or how?
I actually wrote a letter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Was this shortly after you moved back? Okay.
Yeah, so I wrote the letter. I mean, and then, so my older sister moved back from Florida. Yeah, my dad had to go rescue her, like, get her out of there. She came back. Now all three of us are getting high, you know, under my parents' roof. And it's just like chaos. My sister has a daughter, you know, like, who's like, you know, and she's in and out of her life. Like, it was just like awful. And if you looked at all three of us, we don't look like we're drug addicts. You know what I mean? So one night, another night of like chaos, like fighting with my parents, like, you know, like the whole like stealing my mom's debit card, like, give me your purse, like, we like need it. I decided to write a letter to Dr. Phil, because I was like, oh my God, I'm 23 years old, living with my parents, getting high with my sisters, that I never wanted to be like. I was supposed to be like, you know, with this perfect guy by now, like engaged, married, thinking about having kids, have this perfect career. This wasn't supposed to be me. This is crazy. So I decided to write a letter to Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
And I kind of just like explained the situation of us getting high, you know, how it was chaos. I sent in some pictures like of us and just like went about like my life. Like that was it, you know? 2 years later.
2 years?
2 years. 2 years later, when I was 25 years old, I just got arrested. I just got arrested. My little sister just got out of jail. At this point, we're still getting high. Yeah, it took 2 years. It was basically, and like, it's like a joke kind of, like they literally called and was just like, they didn't say this, like, but it's just like funny now to think like, hey, like, are you guys still pieces of shit? Like, yes, we are. Matter of fact. Yeah. And they're like, okay, we want to do a show on addiction next week. Like, that's how this all yeah, it just like
kind of like me reaching out to you. Hey, I'm gonna be on this show.
Yeah, exactly. So it just like it just happened. But I wrote that letter out of like desperation of just wanting to be. I don't know about wanting to be sober. I wanted a different life. Yeah, I didn't want this. Yeah, you know, and didn't have health insurance, don't have money. So how are we all gonna get, like, how is this ever gonna happen? Yeah. Because I would go to a quick, like, you know, low bottom, like, detox and get out, and my sisters are still getting high. So I would get high right away. Or, like, they would go away, and then, you know, there I am, another consequence happens. I'm arrested one more time, another time. And, like, you know, can't keep a job, like, all these consequences, all these things kept happening. And so I just wanted something different.
Yeah. I think that's something too, after like dealing with living through Eric's addiction and all of that, is that's one of the things that frustrates me the most. Cause I mean, I'm sure you heard it all the time. Like, if you didn't want to, you wouldn't, right? Like you'd go get help. If you didn't want to, you would go, you wouldn't do it. And if you don't have insurance, or you have shitty insurance, or, you know, like, it's not like you can just go and get the help.
Yeah, no.
You know? No. And that was one of the things that was like so hard for Eric too, because he didn't have insurance either. Like, he owned his own business. And then it was like, okay, like, he would tell me all the time, like, I think there's one in Newport Beach. There's like a 30-day program. It's like of a facility he wanted to go to. When we were living out here, he's like, it's like $30,000. He's like, how am I going to do that? And then I'm not working for 30 days. And then, you know, so it's like, I don't think people understand that it's not that easy, you know, like we don't have access to all the things we need.
I know, it sucks.
It really does. Yeah.
It really does suck, because like, you know, now sharing my story and stuff, like, you know, on social media, and people reach out, it's just like, and I can connect them with somebody, but like the first question like that those people are going to ask is like, what kind of insurance do you have? Do you know what I'm saying? And it's just like,
Yep.
And I mean, I was scholarshiped, you know, through like going on the show and stuff, and I thank God, but like, it's not that easy. And people need like a medical detox, because it is like, so it's not safe to like, you know, you could die from alcohol withdrawal or like benzo withdrawal. And
it's hard. I remember the first time I went through a detox. I mean, I didn't know what the fuck was about to happen, right?
Yeah.
So Eric's at home. My daughter's a year and a half, and I'm pregnant with my son. Eric wants to go through a detox, right? And he's like talking to me about like what's going to happen, how it's going to be, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, let me try and call this facility to get you a room.
Yeah.
And I call them, and they ask, what kind of insurance do you have? And at that time we had like the state insurance.
Yeah.
I feel like once you tell them that, they kind of just like, you know, and then they're like, well, we can't get him a room until he hasn't like used anything for like 48 hours or something like that. And I'm like, but isn't that the detox? Like, that's what I need help. Like, I need to get him in like now.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we can't, like, we just can't get him a room until he's been clean for 48 hours. And I was like, okay, then. And they're like, but we don't advise detoxing at home. I'm like, so what are you saying to me right now? Like, what am I missing?
Mm-hmm. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, like, what the fuck? I was so angry after that. I'm like, they need better. Like, we need better. This is so shitty.
Yeah, because I couldn't make it to 48 hours.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm like, you go a few hours, like, especially depending on how much you've been using and what you're used to. And I'm like literally on the phone crying. I'm like, please, like, I have a baby at home and I'm like 7 months pregnant.
Yeah.
I can't, like, and they're like, nope, sorry. And I'm like, okay.
I know. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it sucks. The resource, like, I would just wish there was more. But
yeah, it does suck.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about Dr. Phil. You go on there.
Yeah, so...
All three of you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, we had to, like, get my parents on board with that, you know? And I think it was, like, again, like, I just got arrested. My little sister just got out of jail. And then I checked my phone, and I had a voicemail from the producers of Dr. Phil. And, like, I remember, like, it's, like, it was so late. It was, like... I don't even know. I want to say it was like midnight, and I went into my parents' room because I already showed my like sisters like, oh my God, listen to this.
Yeah.
I went into my parents' room and like played them the voicemail, and they were kind of just like, what? Like, you know what I mean?
No,
like,
you sent the letter?
No.
They didn't know. Okay.
They were like, what? And they hated us at this point. Like, it was so bad in the house. You know what I mean? Like,
but they never kicked you out.
No. Yeah, it was so bad, but they were just like, what? And they just were like, get the fuck out, you know? And then the next day, we had this conversation. I'm like, okay, this is like happening. We had to like really get them on board with it. But I think that they were just kind of like, okay, like they knew that we would all get help, you know, by going on the show. Because the reason I wrote into the show is because my dad was like obsessed with Dr. Phil. He always watched him and all the things, and like, so that's why I wrote into Dr. Phil specifically. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Never thinking like that would happen. Yeah, I don't think they really thought like much about like what was going to happen, that millions of people see this. We come from we live like in a small town. Shit is about to be blasted to millions of people, you know? So yeah, we got the call, like, to do it on, what's today? August 28th?
8th, yes.
Yeah, I want to say I got the call on August 28th.
No way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy.
11 years ago. And they wanted to do a show. Then they flew somebody out on September 2nd. One cameraman flew to New Jersey. Just to follow our get down of, like, what we do. And, like...
Right.
You know, getting high for us by that point was a full-time job. Yeah. So, you know, I don't have a license, like nothing. Like, me and my sisters were like, you know, sleeping with guys to get money, stealing, you know, the whole hustle of it all. And yeah, so and we were going to Camden, New Jersey, which is like a place where like we should not have been going, you know, very, very dangerous. And yeah, the camera guy just followed us around for 2 days of us, our normal. Like, that's crazy that it was like normal to us. It was just so normal, all the things that we were doing. And yeah, and then we flew out on we flew to Hollywood on September 7th. And then we filmed the show on September 9th. And then and then right from the show, I like walked off set and went to treatment out in Orange County. So that's why my sobriety date is September 10th. Oh my God. 2014. Yeah. So, but the show was like crazy. When they came and flew out there, like they didn't ask us to do anything weird. The only weird thing they did ask us to do, which we never would do, was they asked us to all get high in one room together. And like, we didn't usually do that. Like, I like to get high, like, kind of by myself because I had a hard time finding a vein. So we get high in, like, separate rooms. But they asked us to all get high in one room. So, like, we did, which was a little, like, weird. Do you know what I mean?
Like, because, like, normal. But
yeah. And it's just, like, becomes I was addicted, like, you know, me being addicted to the drugs, but I was also addicted to the, like, the whole rituals behind it of, like, And it's sick now. Like, this was normal to me. Like, I would just the ritual of like mixing up my drugs, like, you know, getting in the needle, just like really like sick things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, then I'm also addicted to the lifestyle,
Right.
the chaos of, and like the thrill of going out to Camden, New Jersey to go cop dope from these random strangers.
Right.
And like, you know what I mean? So
it's more than just the high.
yeah, it's more than just the high. It becomes like, again, my normal way of like living, you know? And I think by that point, since I hid it for so long, like my addiction when I was working in the pharmacy and had the boyfriend going to college and had the job, like, or, you know, in the car, all the things, I hid it for so long that like, by that point, by 25, I was like, I was in full acceptance of like, I am just going to be a piece of shit the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was just willing to, you know, whatever was going to happen. But when we went on the show and I walk on stage with my sisters, my parents were already out there on the big screens behind Dr. Phil and my parents sitting in the chairs. It was just us shooting heroin. Do you know what I mean? Like with, you know, Eric or whatever, I'm sure his family knew they were getting high, like anybody, like, you know.
But they're not watching
You never see your kid, like, fully get high.
Yeah.
They know, people know it's happening.
Yeah.
My parents knew.
But seeing it is
But seeing it, that's, like, a whole new level.
Yeah.
And, like, them knowing what we did to get money.
Yeah.
And, like, dude, like, I had this.
Everything's exposed.
Yes. And I had this, like, relationship, like, I was a good child, like, you know, for so long. And like, with like, I just never wanted to disappoint like my parents, you know? So like, just the look in their eyes, seeing that, like, that's when it hit me like, whoa, you know, like we're on Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
And like, now me and my sisters get to walk off stage and go to treatment somewhere and get the help we need with therapists, all this stuff. My parents have to go back to that small town where the show is going to air to millions of people, and they're going to have to just live with that. So there we are again, just like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God. And I didn't talk to my parents. Like when I went to treatment out here, I would call them and they were so like rude. Like, and I was thinking, what? Like, why are you like this?
Yeah.
But
was this how they were already, like years before?
I think what it was.
Worse.
Yeah. I think what it was is, they were so used to me, like, going to treatment, they would get the call that I'm going to leave or something, like, and they didn't want to, like, hear it. So I feel like they were just, like, so fed up. Yeah. And then the show, like, aired while I was in treatment. Yeah. That, you know, and, like, I think it really, like, hit them, like, they were just like, whoa.
Yeah. Did they receive any, like, negative backlash back home, or?
Yeah, it was, like, my whole town was sharing it on Facebook, just like the little commercial that was going to show, like, you know, that the show was going to come out. Everybody was sharing it, like the whole town, like everybody. And like my parents, like just going, like going to the bank. It's just like, they're like whispering, like, oh my God, there he is. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like what it was, you know? And ultimately, like, how many people watch Dr. Phil? Like a lot. Yeah. Like just let alone on like Facebook, just that little clip. I remember like seeing it being shared and it had like 8 million views and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And then I'm just looking and I see people I'm in high school with like commenting and like, you know, so, and I was like, oh my God, like the secret's out. Yeah. You know, and I was like, my secret. Yeah. But you got the help you needed. Yeah.
So was that a 30-day treatment, or
it was going to be 90 days for all of us. We all went to separate places. Okay. Yeah. So I went to Orange County and it was like not going to be 90 days, but I ended up getting scholarship for 4 months in there. And then I got scholarship to sober living for like...
And you stayed the whole time?
I stayed the whole time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because, I don't know, I was like so scared, right? But I just knew that I just could not go back to how I was like living. Yeah. You know? And this is the first time I have like no substance in my body. I'm thinking clearly. And I realized like, I want to get help.
Yeah.
Like, so I basically, when I went to treatment, they introduced me to a 12-step program.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like dove right in to that.
Yeah. And was that the first time you were introduced to that?
I mean, like they introduced it when I went to treatment in New Jersey, like all the times in the detoxes they talked about it, but I never opened a book, never asked for help, never shared with like another person, like my thoughts, never like, you know, raised my hand and like shared in a room, like nothing. I was still ashamed, you know, like how I introduced myself, like, you know, when we started like Amanda Alcoholic, like I couldn't say that for a very long time, you know? So once coming out here and like fully like surrendering, you know, and watching the show and realize that like, if this could help one person, then like I do have like a purpose, right? In that moment, realizing like, I'm not meant to be like some piece of shit for forever. You know, I remember I had 4 months sober, went to work all day out here. I don't have a license. I'm like walking to work. Then I'm walking to a meeting. Then I get home into sober living by like 9 o'clock. I get into my little twin size bed, like 25 years old. I pee in a cup for my house mom who's 18 years old. You know, like she's my house mom. I'm peeing this cup, take a breathalyzer. And it's like, I was really like humbled, like, whoa, this is like where I'm at. I have a curfew of like 10 p.m. I can't go out. I can't do anything, you know? And I realized like, oh my God, I did not think about getting high today. Not even once, you know? And like, for me, that's all I ever thought about. I thought I could never like go without like getting high, you know? So, and that was like when I had like 4 months sober, but yeah, I just like started to do all the work, like when I got in treatment, and I was very lucky to get scholarship. My sisters, they got scholarship for like 60 days. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why, like, I was picked to, like, you know, go to that specific treatment center. But, yeah, my sisters went to different ones. They were only scholarship for, like, 60 days. My little sister, like, relapsed right away. My older sister, she was in Texas. And not right away, but she just decided that, like, she wasn't going to be sober anymore. You know? Yeah.
And at this point, you're all living separately. Right? Okay. After you went to this program, like when you would crave or, you know, like you just wanted to go out and do whatever you wanted to do, what would you tell yourself? Like, how would you stop yourself from doing that?
I feel like what worked for me was, you know, in the program that I do work, I am like taught to like, you know, to help others.
Right.
So I feel like that played like a big part of like when I was stuck in self or just kind of finding like wanting to, you know, get loaded or not even like me, even just to start to think about like maybe I could like drink, you know, I quickly like just I would talk about it to a lot of different people, like in my life, you know, something so new for me because I hate everything for so long. But like, yeah, when I had 2 years sober, I mean, when I had a year sober, I was thinking about like, maybe I could drink because like, like I really love drugs, drinking, like, you know, but I watched people like around me, like my boyfriend at the time decided like he was going to drink. I watched him drink. That didn't last long. You know, like my best friend, like she went out and decided to start drinking. Like that didn't like last long. Like it's just like watch everyone like around me, like it wasn't working out. And I truly believe like I have like a lot of these like little like God moments in my life, being one, the Dr. Phil show. Like that was like a huge like God like moment. Like that doesn't happen, you know? So I think I started to really like pay attention to that, talk about it, and just get outside of myself and like help like others. Because from working a program, the obsession was like lifted. But so now it is like anybody that says that they don't think about like drinking or anything anymore, like That's kind of crazy
Yeah.
because I have almost 11 years sober and I still think about it. But it's like that. It's like a fleeting thought, like cars on the highways.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, you're not going to tell me like, you know, my kid, I have, you know, 2 little kids. Like, I'm exhausted. A glass of wine sounds nice.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? But like, I know I don't operate like that way.
Right.
And one thing that truly does help me is to never forget where I came from. I was so dope sick when I came in, like, you know, this like time, every time, like, but when I came in 11 years ago in a detox, I felt like crap for like 4 months. I couldn't sleep, like, you know, and I don't ever forget that feeling.
Yeah.
I never want to feel like that ever again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's something like I really like hold on to, and just constantly like talking about it. I think it really helps, like, if that, like, those thoughts.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's definitely like healing in talking about things. And I feel like holding it in and not letting anyone know. I mean, you're alone. So yeah, you're lonely and all these things. But I think also like with the detox too, I mean, it's so bad. Like you'll hear people say, like people that are using, right, and have gone through detox, they'll be like, I would rather die than do that again.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I don't ever want to experience that again.
Yeah.
You know, and I recover out loud these days because for so long I suffered in silence.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and within my own head. And it was like, it was awful. You
Yeah.
know, I was like a prisoner in my own mind, and it was just so bad, and I don't ever want to like get back to that place.
Yeah.
So yeah, talking about it really, like, there's always somebody that can relate, you know, even like you being on the other, like this other side, having to deal with like Eric and you watching him go through all that, like, you know, like just, we have so much that we like relate on, you know, like you didn't like experience it like firsthand, you experience it on the other side.
Right.
And like, it's just, it's so, that's why they call this like a family disease.
Yeah.
It's not just one person suffering from it, you know, like everyone around us does, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's the reason why I started sharing like my side of the story too. And it's not like I'm not here trying to play victim, right? Like Eric did this to me. Eric, you know, like I've never once thought that. That's not true. The first time he relapsed, I remember asking him, why are you doing this to me? Why don't you love me?
Yeah.
Because especially if you don't know, like that's what you think, right? Like, why isn't my love good enough? Why isn't our daughter good enough? Like, why are you doing this? But after that first time, I obviously learned more about it. And I was the same, like, literally nobody knew that he was doing this, right? Nobody knew about his addiction. I'm the one dealing with it at home by myself with also like postpartum and like all these things. And it fucking sucked. Like it sucked so bad. Like I wish I did have one person that
that's what I'm saying.
I could talk to. So there's so much power in sharing our story, and it's not like, oh, we want all the attention. It's like, no, we know what it feels like to go through it alone, and if we could just help one person, then that's amazing.
And there's so many people like you, you know, and like my dad used to say the same thing, like, why can't you just stop? Just stop. If I were to take a lie detector test, like, you know, in that moment and say, like, I am going to stop, I like promise, like, I'm gonna stop, like, tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? I meant every single word, but I couldn't. Like, I was completely powerless over it. And I would have done whatever I needed to get high the next day. Didn't matter. I needed to do whatever.
Let's talk about, we talked about it a little bit earlier off camera, rock bottom, because you were talking to me about that and, you know, looks and all these things, like how you don't look like an addict. You don't act like an addict.
And like for a long time, I thought like I didn't hit my rock bottom. Hence why when I was 22, went to treatment, compared myself to everybody, like, and I went back out and got some more experience and hit some new like lows, right? And no matter what, constantly digging to like, and all those things that I said I would never do, all those not yets, they were all like happening, right? And I feel like a lot of people do what I do and compare themselves, like thinking like, hey, you know, I've never smoked meth. I never smoked crack. I wasn't shooting heroin, you know, and like, yeah, I'm not homeless, you know, I'm not, you know, waking up with the shakes every day. Like all these things that we think about, you know, addicts and alcoholics and rock bottom. But ultimately, like, it's up to you to decide what that looks like, right? It's like the feelings all behind it. And I shared with you a little bit like how my sister-in-law, me and my husband are both, you know, addicts, and she compared herself to me and my husband. Like all she knew was like, you know, getting arrested, the withdrawal, the stealing, the lying, like all those things. She didn't experience that, right? Wasn't waking up with the shakes, but like she was definitely an alcoholic. Like the reasons that she drank, you know, and like what would happen when she would drink and like the blackouts and all these things, you know, she was definitely one of us, but you can't determine that for like, you have to fully accept that yourself and like, you know, admit that. And she ended up killing herself in a blackout, you know, and I like make it a mission to talk about that. Like, it doesn't matter like the substance or like what you're using, you know, like we're all here for like, you know, one reason. Like nobody like just like, oh, okay, maybe I'm an alcoholic, you know, and if you even think that like one time, there's obviously, if you're like questioning yourself,
there's a problem.
Yeah, there's already, like a problem, right? You know, and you're trying to like control all these things. But yeah, the rock bottom, like ultimately, if you keep going, like it's death, you know? And everyone's rock bottom is like so different. And I don't care how you end up in treatment, whether it's like, you know, your wife made you go, like you went, you know, you have a court card, you know, like you have to go, like whatever gets you there, you know? And like, that's when you feel like if you want to do the work, you have to be willing to do the work and put like the work in, you know? So rock bottom, it just can go as deep as you want it to be, you know?
And I think that's also, I mean, obviously I haven't experienced that, but I feel like you said, it is different for everyone, but in order to actually get the help, you need it. Like, it's not someone else sending you to rehab. It's like you need to want it personally, or it'll be like the first time you went where you go for 14 days and then you get out and, you know, like the first thing you do is get high. Yeah. So I remember that was like, Eric did not like rehab. And I think like before I met him, he was already, you know, a heroin addict. He was in recovery, but I remember the first time he relapsed with me, we were like talking about rehab, and I just think like, cause I'm naive, I think it's just this magical place that you go to and it's going to fix you, right? Like you're going to go and then you're never going to use it again, right? So I'm like pushing it. Like, you have to, like, this is not an option, like, you know, but again, we don't have insurance. So we're like looking for cheap, whatever. And then like, that's kind of when he opened up to me and he's like, I have been forced to go to rehab dozens of times in my life, whether it was by my mom, by the court, by this, that. He's like, it never worked. He's like, and I, like, you know, like, I don't want to do it. And at that point, it wasn't even like, I don't want to go to rehab because I don't want to be sober. He just didn't like it. Like, I don't know. He just did not like it. And every time, like, when we would go through it and he would get clean, he would do it on his own. That was just his mindset. So I think at that point he was already like turned off. He was like, no, absolutely not. I don't like it. I don't want it, but I do want to be clean. So I'll do it myself. So it works different for everybody.
Every single person. Yeah, it is different, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like forcing someone, if they're not ready, they're not ready. Doesn't work.
And it's not going to work until like they actually want to do the work. You know?
And it's not like you that you're doing anything wrong. It's just something they need to figure out within themselves.
It's a hard thing to accept. You know?
Definitely. So what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about addiction and recovery?
There's no just one size fits all, you know? I would say, and like what we just talked about, like, people thinking that rehab's gonna like fix it. you know, or people, again, like my experience is through a 12-step program, but I know it's not like the only way,
right?
You know, and I used to be very judgmental and think since was my experience and what worked for me. But again, like I just like learned like, hey, if you need to, you know, take, you know, Suboxone or whatever, and you're not on the streets anymore, like all these things, like whatever you have to do, like it doesn't like matter. But people think that it's just like, there's only like one way, not necessarily my way, not even 12-step program. People think that no, this 12-step program does not work. You know what I mean? They think that like, no way, like that doesn't work. But I feel like it's just people think that we are like bad people. Yeah. You know? And again, like where I was like a homecoming queen and just popular, like good grades, played sports, all these things, you know, wasn't supposed to happen to me. I never thought in a million years that it would be me, right? And ultimately, I made a lot of mistakes, you know, when I was getting loaded, and I did a lot of bad things, but like that does not define like who I am today, right? I'm not like a bad person. I know that I struggled with that for a while, like the guilt and the shame and all the things that I have done, and, you know, all the things I had to like make right. But just realizing like we're not bad people. It could happen. It could be anybody. Like it could be your kid, you know. It could happen to your husband and, you know, your aunt, your uncle, your parents, like your teacher, you know, it could be your doctor. You know, like I have, you know, friend, she's a lawyer, like it could just be whoever. So I think that's what it is. Like people just think that it's just these bad people but like, it's just, we're not, you know?
Yeah. I get a lot of comments on social media, like ever since sharing, you know, how Eric died of addiction or an overdose, and just like mean people, like, oh, he deserved it, like, oh, like how shitty of him, like he picked this over you, and like he didn't love his kids, he didn't do that, like why would you even want him to still be here? And it's like, that sucks, right? Because like I decided to share this on social media, so obviously there's like trolls and stuff, but it's like you meet an addict and you like don't see past that. Like there's some people that just don't see past that. Ugh, it hurts my heart. It really does.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like you were like those moments, think about the moments that you had with Eric where, you know, where like he's laughing with like your kids and he's, you know, being a dad, and you guys are on a date eating dinner, like, or go to the movies, you have all these memories, like, you know, that's not like just who he was, but he was very, very sick, you know? And
it makes me sad for my kids, honestly, because obviously they were so young when he died. Like my oldest does remember, but like I'm lucky enough to have so many videos and stuff like that. And even like the 6 years we were together, he was only actively using for like 10 to 12 months out of that whole time. But yeah, that's what makes me sad for my kids, is like if they do grow up and they decide that they want to share that with someone, like the judgment that they could possibly get one day, like, oh, your dad did not love you, or like he wasn't a good dad. It's just not fair.
No, I know. And it sucks that people think, they say like, oh, you chose like, you chose drugs over, like my sister has a daughter, like you chose drugs over your daughter, and like all these things, like, you know,
you think they would really do that? Like,
no. And and that's what I'm saying. Like they obviously haven't experienced it. Right. Because me being in Eric's position, you know, like I could tell you that he like loved you and the kids very much, and he wouldn't do anything to get sober. You know what I mean? And like be here.
Absolutely. And I know that, like I 100% believe that. And I feel like that's another thing, like that's why I'm so passionate like about this, for example, and about talking about it so much, is because I want to raise a generation that isn't as judgmental and fucked up as we are, because I don't want my kids to feel that way, you know?
No.
And in this like fentanyl epidemic, there's going to be so many kids, unfortunately, that grow up without a mom or without a dad because of a fentanyl overdose. Like it just sucks. So yeah, I just want to raise better.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want my kids, like, this is a real thing. That's why it's so good that like we do talk
Yeah.
about it because like this is real. Like you know, if you not talking about it and hiding it, like whatever, like brushing it under the rug, like it doesn't make it like go away.
Exactly.
Like, you know, like my kid's best friend, like when he gets older, he could die of an overdose. Do you know what I mean? Like, and my kids like I'm gonna like educate them, you know, and be real with them. And it does suck. And I mean, like to think now, like obviously I didn't think of this when it was happening, but my kids are gonna see the Dr. Phil show one day, I'm sure. Or like people are like, oh, you share so much on the internet, like your kids are gonna like see it one day, and like they're gonna see it as a strength because it is my superpower. You know, I make it as like I'm doing this to help other people. Like this is my superpower. Like my sobriety is like, you know, like very important to me. Like I overcame some huge struggles, challenges like that I'm very proud of. So I want them to see that it's like, it's not anything to be ashamed of, you know, and this is real and this happens, you know, to people. And I am one of them, but they're going to see me as like a completely different person. Cause I even now look back and I'm like, who was that girl 11 years ago?
Completely different person.
Yeah, I was a completely different person 5 years ago, a year ago. I'm constantly we're constantly growing and like learning, you know, and like think about when Eric first passed and like where you are now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Just we're constantly like growing and healing.
And
it's the people that stay sick still that don't like us growing, because we get better, people stay sick.
Put.
And they don't like that, you know.
So you do plan on talking to your kids about it, right? And like telling them. Do you ever have like the fear of your kids turning into drug addicts, or like you passing down that like pain, or you know, like that?
Absolutely. I mean, me and my husband are both alcoholics. Sometimes like it'll be like a joke, like how my kid, like, you know, things that he does or like how they act. It's like, whoa, like, oh my God, they're definitely going to be saving a seat for them. But like, you don't need to say that, but like,
I literally joke about that too. Like when my kids are sick, or they're not sick, I mean, and they're like, Mom, can you just give me some medication? I'm like, here we go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, oh my God.
Overthink like everything when you like joke about it, but it's still there. You're like, fuck.
Starting. Exactly. So it's scary to think about, but like it could be like my reality, but like they're lucky that they're gonna have us. Because like we ultimately like know like what to do. You know what I mean? And like,
and I think just being open from the get-go, just open and like knowing that you are safe space for them to go to, you know, like I think that is the most important thing. Like for especially like them knowing this and all this stuff, because I fear that too. It's hard.
I know, it's definitely hard.
It's so hard. Well, I am so happy for you. Congratulations on your 11 years.
Thank you.
And you are happily married now with your 2 kids, right? What does life look like these days?
Oh my gosh, it's so different. Even like just driving in my car, like because I have a valid license and have like car insurance. You know what I mean? Like just these things, like little things, and like living in, you know, Southern California and just seeing like a palm tree and just driving, like it just trips me out, you know? Like I remain very like grateful for like where I am, and like life is very good. Like I work at a recovery store. It's called The Latest Thing. It's located in Costa Mesa. I run like all their social media. You know, me and my husband like have built like this great life together. We have 2 little kids. We have like a healthy relationship. We like communicate. Like, you know, like it's so
23-year-old you did not know what that was.
Like, you know, like we have like this like it's just crazy. my life now, I like trip out about it, like just the little things. And like, you know, I'm this morning getting my kids ready for school, you know, and just like making their lunch and like walking them to school. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Those little things mean so much to me, right?
Because there were days where you probably thought you would never,
Yes.
ever have that.
Yeah,
right?
no, never. And I've made so many like friends, you know, like real friends in my life, right? And I have a relationship with my family, my parents super close, and my sisters. They're both sober.
That's amazing.
Now, yeah, they just were out here visiting in July.
Oh man, your parents must be so
they're so proud and so happy. Like now they're so grateful. The Dr. Phil show was the best thing that ever happened to us and our family.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just way different from like what it was.
I bet.
Yeah.
I do want to give a little bit of praise to your parents though, because just the fact that they never kicked you out, they never, you know, like they, at one point you made a comment where you were like, they hated us. And in my mind, I was like, no, they fucking loved you, because they never kicked you out. They never like, you know, gave up on you guys and just do this shit on your own. And like going through this journey, I have met a lot of addicts and recovering addicts where they don't have that, you know, like their parents are like, go ruin your own life somewhere else.
Yeah.
But your parents sound amazing, and
you're so right.
Yeah,
I know they dealt with a lot of shit.
Yeah,
a lot of shit, and to still like, and they made it. Like they
still together.
Do you know? Like that's crazy.
Love. Love between all 5 of you. That's amazing. That is so amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I do have one last question here for you.
Okay.
What would you say to someone who is still struggling right now and feels like recovery and all that is just completely impossible?
I would say, you know, you're not alone. I think that's the one thing, like, I felt like no one felt like how I felt. You know what I mean? And like, pick up the phone and just tell one like person. To have that one person. I reached out to the Dr. Phil show. Like I reached out to this girl that I met in high school. Like she went to a different high school. I reached out to her, was honest with her. Like, I don't know, like just tell somebody. You know what I mean? Like I get a lot of messages of people that reaching out, you know, and like all it takes is just like one person to actually like listen and relate. You know, you're worth it. Like recovery is possible. I never thought that it would be possible, but like, I highly just suggest like, you know, reaching out to somebody, your parents, your sister, your ex best friend from high school. I don't know, somebody,
literally anybody.
Because that's like people just, you know, don't for so long. Just like anybody, I don't know, call that rehab, see who they can connect you with. You never know what's going to happen, you know, like, and like I said, these little like God moments for me, like the way people like were put in my life, and like, you know, even like us connecting and just me getting to hear your story and just like see how like badass you are. It's just like crazy. Just know you're not alone, and like anything is like, you know, possible.
It'll be
if
hard.
I can do
it's
it,
hard, but it's definitely
you can
possible.
do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me, letting me pick your brain a little bit.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, and also I do want to remind you guys, if you are struggling with mental health or want someone to talk to, you can always call 988. I actually did text actually. You can text or call if you're struggling with anything. I did call them one time when Eric was going through a detox, and it was just a really low point, and it's a real person on the other end. So going back to what you were saying, reach out to literally anyone, and just so you're not alone, because that in itself is a big thing. Yeah. And thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to continue to be a part of these conversations, make sure you like, share, subscribe, all the things. And don't forget, just for today, keep going.